I will hand it over to the people who know more than me.
All right, so Crystal, you gonna be our star presenter today?
Sure. Okay, so welcome everybody. This roundtable is for internet service providers. Real quickly, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the team. So the team from Arizona Commerce Authority, you have myself, I'm the GIS analyst, Aaron Lorandos, the digital equity expert, Kelly Cruz, the engagement expert, sorry, Kelly, Carla, program manager, and then Sandeep Omek, the state broadband director. Okay, 1 second. Let me switch my screens up. Okay, I think everybody can see my screen now. So this roundtable is going to be very similar to last time's. Mostly going to focus on the challenge process. For those of you that don't know the challenge, the last day to submit a challenge is May 14th. So what I always do is I start by going to the Arizona Commerce's website, so azcommerce/broadband. So this is the ACA's broadband page. From here, I'm going to go to BEAD and then challenge process. So this is where all of the materials for the challenge process is housed. So everything regarding Arizona's state challenge process is here. Right here is the link to the challenge process portal. So you can click that link, or you can go directly to az.broadbandnavigator.com. So when I click on that link, it takes me to basically the status of broadband in Arizona. So by default, we see service coverage greater than or equal to 100 by 20. You can also toggle these. So if I want to see coverage that doesn't meet 25 by 3, I can do that here. And there's also a way to see the number of providers. When I toggle these different tabs, you see that this data right here on the left-hand side of the screen updates. We also see basically the overall status for Arizona broadband here. So there's a couple of different boundaries available in the portal. So that by default, we see the county boundary. You can also change it to tribal boundary or census block group and a couple of other different boundaries. So once I change the boundary, the left-hand side of the screen updates with that data. So I'm just going to go back to the default, which is county boundaries, 100 by 20 service. There's also a way you can toggle funding. So if I toggle this funding option right here, it shows me all the funding layers via Polygon. So these polygons were given to us from NTIA. However, you can download them directly from each of these funding authorities' websites. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, you can go to the help. There's a tab for funding layer, and then it has all of the data sources for the broadband funding on the map. And if I click on one of those links, it'll take me to basically where more of that information is held. And then you also have the option to download those shapefiles yourself. So a known issue that our office has basically flagged is the TBCP funding polygons. So these were given to us by NTIA. They're pretty confidential funding layers. However, we've noticed several errors with them. So I would disregard, personally, I would disregard any TBCP funding shown outside of tribal areas. These are likely inaccurate, and we've already flagged this for NTIA and for the TBCP data analytics team. You're welcome to submit a formal challenge. Just know that we're given the opportunity to do that deduplication after the challenge process as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and toggle this back off, go to the default. Notice when I click on one of these boundaries, again, this table right here updates with that data. This is the broadband and digital equity indicator table. So this data right here is taken from the FCC's data. However, these other options right here are taken from the American Community Survey data from the US Census Bureau. So I can go through these and see the status of speed, subscription, income, race, and age for each county. I can also do this with any other of the boundaries. So if you're interested in knowing more about some of these indicators, that information is in the About page under Data Information. It tells you where this demographic data came from. So the US Census Bureau, American Community Survey data, and it tells you which tables. Okay, so not only do we have a lot of information, like high level information for all these different boundaries, we also have information for BSLs, for broadband serviceable locations. So I can either zoom into the BSL that I'm interested in, or I can directly type it in this address box. So I'm going to search for the Arizona Commerce's website, or excuse me, address. So notice the Arizona Commerce does not have a BSL itself. This is because only active BSLs are shown on this map. So active BSLs are either residential addresses, businesses, mixed enterprise, and CAIs as defined by CostQuest will not be available on the map. This is because they're not active BSLs. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, we do have more information on these two tabs here, About and Help. So if I zoom into the BSL that I'm interested in and I select it, you see all of the availability data populate here. So this is directly pulled from the FCC's map and from their data. We also have broadband funding shown here. So this is the type of funding and the awardee. And again, we know that there's an issue with the TVCP data, and we're currently in communication with NTIA and TVCP to resolve that. Also notice when I click on these points, you see the challenge status here. So this is going to be available to anybody in the public. There won't be any detailed information about the challenges shown here, just the status of whether it's been approved, rejected, or if it's in the rebuttal process. So anybody can come to this map and take a speed test or report a service issue. You do not have to be a registered user to do this. So to take a speed test, I'll select the BSL that I'm interested in. So where I'm currently reside, or I currently am residing, and the provider that I'm currently using. So you'll select take a speed test. It'll give you a couple of options. If any of these applicable, you can check them. So if I'm on a VPN or a mobile or wireless network, or if I'm currently using my Wi-Fi for video or gaming, and then select go. A common misconception is that folks have to record this data themselves. That's not true. The portal automatically collects all of this data. So it's collecting download and upload speeds and latency here. So once it's done recording all of this, if the upload and download speeds do not meet the threshold, it'll give you the option to submit your name and email. This is because the portal will automatically send an email reminding folks to take a consecutive speed test. So for this demonstration, my speeds meet the threshold, so it's not asking me for that additional information. So similarly, anybody can report a service issue. To do so, you'll just select this option, report a service issue. If any of these apply, I'll select that. You want to fill out all of this information. And certify that it's all correct. Notice that it won't let me go any further if I don't input all of the information. So once I select next, it gives me the option to upload evidence. So this is really important for us to determine whether this is a valid challenge. Yeah, you shouldn't really submit a service issue if you don't have the evidence for that. So once I upload my evidence, I can select submit. So these types of reports, speed tests and reports, are given to our pass-through entity, which is a valid challenger. The challenger then reviews all of the information and submits it to our office as a formal challenge. So basically, that's how you navigate the portal. This is how anybody can come in and submit a speed test or a service issue report. Anybody, the general public, can view availability data, broadband funding data, and overall status of a challenge. If you're interested in submitting a challenge, you do have to register for the portal. To do that, you'll go into the sign-in option here. Request a new account. And then choose from the option of ISPs listed here. If you don't see your organization's name, you can go to Other and type it here. And then select Request. So whenever you're requesting an account, use your company's domain email to do so. This just helps our office basically approve your requests in a timely manner. So once I register for an account, the request goes to our office. We'll either approve or deny it based on whether we think that you're a legitimate challenger. And then you'll receive an email to ask you to finish setting up your account and creating a password. So once you've done that, you can sign into the navigator. And you can finally submit challenges. So to submit a challenge, you can do so at the BSL level. So if I zoom in, I can go to the BSL level, or I can search for the address. When I select the BSL, it gives me this new option, submit a challenge. So from here, you see the different types of challenges that you can submit. What I always tell everyone is to have volume 1 handy when you're doing this. Volume 1, the approved volume 1, is found on our ACA challenge process website right here. So this is the document that we've told NTIA that this is how we're going to conduct the challenge process. There's detailed information about how we're conducting the challenge process and what types of challenge evidence we're going to accept and rebuttal evidence that we'll accept. So that information is found here in this table 3. You can find the definition for each of these different types of challenges, specific evidence that can be submitted with the challenge, and permissible rebuttal evidence. The examples in this table are not final, meaning you can submit additional types of evidence to support your challenge or your rebuttal. It's not limited to what's in this table. These are just examples. Also, past the table, there's information on area and MDU challenges and what constitutes a valid speed test. So once I've kind of consulted volume 1, I think I'm ready to submit a challenge. So you'll select the type of challenge that you're interested in here. Provide the information necessary for the challenge, certify that all of this is correct, and then go to next. Here you can submit evidence for your challenge. If you're interested in submitting a bulk challenge, to do that, you'll need to draw a polygon. So if I want to submit a bulk challenge, I'll select this little pencil icon here. And then it will allow me to create a polygon over all of the BSLs that I'm interested in. This is the only way that you can submit a bulk challenge through the portal. So there are only a couple of different challenge types that you can submit a bulk challenge for. Those are enforceable commitment, not part of an enforceable commitment, and planned service area challenge. So my options are limited because I'm not an ISP. Only ISPs can submit not part of an enforceable commitment and planned service challenges. So I'll submit all the evidence needed for this. Similar to last time, I'll select next and upload the additional documentation necessary for your challenge. Once you submit a challenge, you'll see a message here that says challenge successful. And you can also check on the status of your challenges using the challenge dashboard. So the challenge dashboard looks similar to this open rebuttal. It'll have your challenges shown here and challenges currently being rebutted, or challenges that you need to rebuttal. So notice there's a couple of different dashboards. Here is the summary dashboard. So this is the status of all challenges in Arizona to date. So here we have the date that the challenge process started, the number of days for a challenge to be rebutted, and the official end time of the challenge process. Here's the number of total challenges within the state of Arizona, 475. Once our office begins accepting or rejecting challenges, you'll start to see rebuttals here, and then completed challenges here. Again, this dashboard is just for folks to see the summary of challenges for the entire state of Arizona. If you're interested in your organization or company's challenge status, you'll go to the challenge dashboard here. Also, open rebuttals are shown here. So these are challenges that are not towards an internet service provider, but more so for local or tribal government or nonprofits to rebuttal. So they'll be able to do that through the open rebuttal dashboard here. So that's all I intended to show you. I think if anybody has any questions, I think we can open up for questions.
We do have one in the chat already, which is great. And I do want to remind everybody, please plug in your questions and include your name if you are coming up as anonymous, but also include your company name so that where you're from, it gives us some context to help be more specific and also lets everybody else know who's in the call. So first one we've got, Crystal, is from Brittany. She says, what if we need to submit a bulk challenge for existing service that is already there and not planned? Would we use the planned service option?
No. So if you currently provide service to a location and it was not updated by the FCC, that is an availability challenge. And it's the type of availability challenge that it is called a reverse availability challenge. We did not explicitly state this in volume 1. However, we are creating our adjudication SOP that allows for a reverse availability challenge. So right now it's being basically drafted. We'll submit that to NTIA. But you should see this week or next the option in the portal to do a reverse availability challenge. Again, this falls under the availability challenge. It'll just be a new drop down for you to select. When you're submitting a reverse availability challenge, we will require evidence that you're also updating FCC with your availability. So we've noticed that a lot of internet service providers have told us that basically the FCC has kind of missed some BSLs in their service area. So now that we know that that's currently an issue, we would like to update our maps with the most accurate data. However, it also needs to be reflected in the FCC map. So if you go to the FCC map, you can challenge there and you can challenge our map.
Great. And we've got 2 more that have come in as well. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. Please keep them coming. The next one is from Alan, and I believe Alan is from South Central Communications. He says, will you please revisit how to set up an account?
Yeah, no problem. So I'm just going to share my screen again. So when you first log into the Broadband Navigator, again, you can find that link on our ACA Broadband homepage if you go to the Challenge Process tab on the left-hand side of the screen, or you can directly type in az.broadbandnavigator.com into your search bar and it'll take you to this map. From here, if I want to set up an account, I'll go to Sign In. And at the very bottom, there's an option to request an account. So I'm going to select that. You'll want to put in all of your information here. Under organization category, if you're a broadband provider, select that. Select whichever company you belong to. If you don't see your company here, you can type it in here where it says other, type below. Enter your organization name here, and then your organization's webpage. When you're signing up for an account, we strongly advise you to use the email address associated with your organization. So your organization's email domain. So this will help our office validate that you actually are part of this organization, and it'll help you get your account approved in a timely manner.
All right, thank you for that one, Crystal. We've got another one from Bruce. Is there a file upload option for bulk challenges? And if so, are there file size or entry limits? I think Bruce is from Frontier.
Yeah, so when you're doing basically a bulk challenge, is only for the polygon selections. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. So bulk challenge can only be through the polygon method. So when I'm submitting a bulk challenge, let's say I'm interested in this entire block right here. I'll select this little pencil icon. And again, you have to be signed in to be able to submit these types of challenges. So I'll select the pencil icon and I'll draw a polygon over my service area or the area that I'm interested in submitting a challenge for. Once you complete that polygon, you're submitting a challenge for every single BSL within this area. So when you're providing evidence for this type of challenge, it doesn't have to be at the household level, but let's say you're submitting construction plans or something like that. It has to pertain to this entire area. You can also submit a template to our office. The template is found on our ACA webpage. So under Challenge Process Resources, there's a bulk challenge template. see. So this is the template that we ask you to fill out too. This is just additional information for our office. So you'll basically fill in the fabric ID number that you plan to service, latitude, longitude, your provider ID, the technology that you intend to install. For example, if you're submitting a planned service challenge or an enforceable commitment challenge. And then the maximum download and upload speeds you intend to offer there. You can submit that as additional evidence, but you'll also need to review volume 1 for other types of evidence that would be applicable for this type of challenge. So that could be permitting maps, it could be splice diagrams, it could be a number of things. And I'll also note that whatever evidence that you submit with your challenge remains internal to your organization and to our office. So nobody outside of our office or your organization can see the evidence that you upload.
Okay, I think that's all the questions we've got for now that are in the Q&A. Of course, if there are more, please continue to plug them in. It really is helpful to us when you tell us where you're from. Like I said, it gives us some context so that we can answer more specifically. But there are no questions at this time, Crystal. So if there's more you want to share. Or I'm not sure if you're done.
Yeah, no, real quick. I think it's really important that everyone know that if you still need assistance navigating the broadband navigator, there is a technical guide on our website, or you can schedule a 30-minute phone call with our office. We're calling them office hours, and it's basically 30 minutes to kind of go over whatever you need help with, or if you still need help with the challenge process and understanding that, you can reserve time for that. Or if you need more technical assistance, you can reserve 30 minutes for that. We also have an inbox, the broadband inbox. So any time of the day, you can submit questions to that email. We usually get you get a response from us that day, or if it's a weekend, that following Monday.
We'll get those links in the chat. I think Aaron's starting to do that, but we'll make sure everything Crystal just mentioned, we'll plug that into the chat too. And then we did get another question from Alan. I'm sure everybody can read it, but I'm sorry, I'm reading it too. Do we need to challenge our own data if it has not been updated with fiber build out we have completed in the last few months? If the fabric data is only updated every 6 months or even annually, a lot of construction activity has taken place.
So I'm thinking that you have a basically a site that you're currently building out fiber to, or you plan to build out fiber to, and you maybe haven't submitted that data to the FCC yet. I think depending on whatever stage you are with the build out, if it's already built, and let's say you can actually like submit a speed test or something like that there, you're going to want to submit that to the FCC. And then you can submit that as a reverse availability challenge, meaning you currently already provide service there. If it's hasn't been completely built out, that's going to be a planned service challenge. Also, there is a stipulation with the planned service area challenge. I think you basically have to provide evidence that you plan to build out before June 30, 2024. So that is the deadline or having basically the cutoff date for planned service challenge.
Okay. I'm going to see if Alan has any responses to that. Oh, he did. He said, can you unmute me? All right, great. I was thinking the same thing, Alan. So I am going to do that. Let me find your name here. All right. So I just gave you the option to unmute and speak. Thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you. We operate in both Utah and Arizona. And so part of my questions are coming from the experience that we've already had in Utah. And we have been building fiber. So most of the areas that I'm talking about are areas that we already provide service in, but they have been categorized as either well, most of them have been unserved. I don't know if there's any that are most of them have been underserved rather than unserved. But they've been DSL. So we've been building out fiber to the home for probably 10 to 12 years. So my question specifically is related to those areas where we've always provided service, but we've converted recently. For example, in northern Mojave County near Colorado City, there's an area called Cane Beds. It's not even a city or town. It's just a cluster of houses. But we've completed fiber to the home there, and I haven't actually looked at the map, so I'm not sure if it's updated. But again, from the Utah experience, the fabric is not updated, and it will not be updated until after the challenge process is complete. So in Utah, we are having to challenge our own data to show that 160 North Main in this particular community on the map said it was only capable of 50 meg, but it actually has 1 gig internet service now. So that's the reason for my question. If we have to challenge our own to show those updates that won't be completed through the BEAD or the fabric for another 6 months, potentially after the challenge process is over, it appears that the best way to approach it is to challenge our own data. And what Utah is having us do is upload the as-built drawings to show what is currently available. Does that explain my question?
Yeah, perfectly explained your question, and I think that's a really valid concern. It's a topic that's all state broadband offices are talking about. So what you're describing is kind of each state has to do a true up process. So after the end of the challenge period, our office still has the option to do a true up, because at the end of the day, we can't build BEAD over areas that are already served. So the true up process is basically after the challenge process ends, and once we get whatever updated data from the FCC, our office has the option to update our final list of BEAD eligible locations with whatever the newest FCC data set says. There's a lot of technical pieces to that. Basically, it's like our state is having to submit a challenge to NTIA, but that what you're talking about is going to be resolved during the true up process.
Okay. That makes sense.
Alan, this is Sandeep, Arizona State Broadband Director. I just want to make sure that you are hearing our thoughts. We're hearing this from all over the state. And in FCC not updating the map, that's a very common thing, happened in last iteration, especially the fabric version came out in November. So I would highly recommend you to do two things. So basically submit the as-built drawing, permitting request, or if it's already under construction, the invoices to the contractor. So those can be submitted as an additional document to us, and would be happy to accept that. But also at the same time, we as a state broadband office, we cannot determine the final map until we have the blessing from FCC. So I would highly recommend you as well submit that same data to FCC. Now, when we take our data and go to FCC and do a cross-checking with them, if there is anything missing, they did not update on their side, that we will find that out at that point. But I think going the data both from the ISPs to the State Broadband Office and FCC really make sure that it will be updated in the final map. So just wanted to flag that for you. We hear you. We know this is going on. That's why we actually are adding a reverse availability button in the middle of the challenge process, because we didn't think about this piece before, and all the state broadband offices are going through the same process right now.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alan.
You can mute me again.
Okay, will do. We'll move forward in the questions. Keep them coming. We've got a few in the queue here, and I'll read the next one. And then just like we did with Alan, if it gets a little bit more complicated, let us know in the Q&A and we can unmute you as well. So the next one that we've got is from Jacob, and I believe Jacob is from Lumen. He says, if a challenge is submitted against service from a particular ISP, will the ISP be notified of the challenge, or does the ISP need to check the portal daily to look for challenges to rebuke?
No, they will be notified. If you are registered actually in the system, you will be notified right away. We are basically going there off of the registration. That's why it's very important to match your company's name and your domain. So we are putting them into specific buckets. So if there is any challenge against a certain ISP, it will be notified to you right away. The 15-day, I think there is one more question in there. When does that short clock of 15 days starts for the rebuke? The moment it's rerouted to you, you have 15 days to basically send us a rebuttal. And all the rebuttal data, all the challenges, everything will be popping up in the map.
Okay, and then the same question is in the chat as well from Jim Farr, also with Lumen, but I think you answered. He said,
Yep.
when the state validates, yeah. Okay.
Just to expand on that. So right now, Sandy made the decision to kind of sit on these challenges until we know that every ISP is registered in the portal. So that helps make sure that we have adequate ISP participation. So as soon as we start accepting those challenges, yes, you're correct, that 15-day rebuttal period starts. Right now, we're just waiting to make sure that we have all of the participation from ISPs that we need.
Yeah, that's an additional decision which was made on our side to make sure there is a transparency process in place. We have around 72 ISPs here in Arizona, and there are approximately 20-25 small ISPs served in rural Arizona. We didn't have clear contact information or the old contact information. So Kelly, our engagement manager, manually basically picked up the phone and called them separately and collected all those information. So there is an email going out next Monday, basically asking all these ISPs to again register. So if you are already registered, please do ignore that. That's totally fine. But there is a second round of email notification going out asking the ISPs to register. We want to make sure when we are rerouting these challenges to any ISPs, they are registered and they're not missing this 15 days deadline.
Okay, there are no other questions in the chat at this time. Crystal, did you have any other topics you wanted to share?
Let's see, there's a couple of new documents that have been added to our challenge process resources page. We uploaded a video, so if you're interested in having participation by folks in communities to take speed tests, there's a video on our website that shows people how to do that if they don't know anything about this challenge process. There are a couple of one-pagers also. I highly encourage everybody to take a look at the area and MDU challenges. So this will save you time if you plan on making challenges for a large area. Definitely check into the area challenge option. An area challenge is triggered when 6 or more BSLs within a census block group are challenging the same provider.
All right, still no questions in the chat at this time. Feel free to plug those in if you have them. But I think if there is no other information from Crystal or Sandeep, Jamie, Perla, we might be reaching the end.
So we've already touched on this a lot, the reverse availability challenge. Just note that option is not currently in the portal. The web developers are currently in the process of making that an option. You should see that this week or next week. We'll also be posting one more document to our website around probably next week. That will have additional evidence examples. I think a common misconception is that folks think that the types of evidence that they can submit are limited to what was posted in our volume 1, and that's not true. Those were just examples. So we're going to expand a little bit on the types of examples that you can submit for a challenge or for a rebuttal.
Great. Sandeep, anything else you want to share?
No, that was all. Thank you so much, all of you, for your attendance. And again, feel free to reach out to us if you want to set up a one-on-one meeting and talk about a specific scenario. Always happy to help you all.
Great. Okay, so our next round of roundtables will be, I believe, the first full week of May. We are trying to get those in before the May 15th, May 14th, 11:59 deadline. So we're looking at that first full week of May. We'll have those up on the website soon. We're setting those dates and times now. I just alert that for everyone to keep in mind that it's going to happen that week. And we will get that up. And also our newsletter will be coming out in the next few weeks. We're hoping for end of April, if not early May. And just some quick updates will be shared in that as well. And because you've been a participant, you will be added to our list to receive those updates as well. So thanks everybody for joining us, making time. And at this point, it looks like you get a full 17+ minutes back in your day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.